What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Doom of Fools podcast. We have another special guest as always. He's probably the sickest and best Mardu player in CDH on the planet. Just saying. We got Bad Dog. What's up, Bad Dog? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, Josh? Hi, everybody.
We've been talking for 45 minutes trying to figure out my computer, but I digress. So what's going on, man? When and how long you been into Magic, and then how'd you get into CDH?
Oh man. I've been playing Magic probably since about uh 20 2001, 2002.
Really?
Seventh edition, kind of Odyssey block, Invasion block, like all that. So I've been around for a while.
Wow.
For CDH, I've been playing No Holds Barred EDH probably since about 2012.
Mm,
So before CDH was called CDH, but I was an offline guy. I
mm.
didn't really join the online CDH side of things until about 2014, 2015. And even then, it was super limited.
Mm.
I think I participated in like the first online Reddit CDH tournament they ever held. Then took a break, came back in 2016, 2017. I'd say in 2017 is really when I started to go more hard
Hmm.
online.
Yeah, man, I wanna talk about it a little bit. Today we're gonna go over a little Kaalia background, Kaalia deck tech. He is the Kaalia guy. I want to see how Kaalia is post ban. But let's talk about it a little bit. I mean, you guys see this. First place at Mox Masters. He's top 16 a million times. Second place in July of last year. First place in 2022 a lot. Like, how do you fucking smack everyone's faces with this Mardu? Is a lot of this, before we get into deck tech, is a lot of this like skill based? Is a lot of this she's just cracked and no one knows it? They don't really, you kind of fly under the radar. Like, how'd you become so good in this format?
Um, a lot of it's just painful trial and error,
Mm-hmm.
honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like you fail a lot is just the honest truth.
Yeah.
It's not glamorous. There
Mm-hmm.
is Kalia definitely is like secretly cracked.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole niche and strategy and meta thing that she does, which no other commander really. Some come close, but there is something that she does which is genuinely unique, and there's a reason why she puts up the results she does.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, mostly it's just failing a lot. it's
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not glamorous.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of her in high power, and then I built her two different times in CDH, and I just can't get it. I'm not winning. Mardu for me isn't working. Right. That's before the ban, obviously. So, um, why do you think no one really plays her? I've only seen you. I think the Mardu, whatever his name is, the Mardu King, Mardu God. There's only a few Kaalia lists running around, especially playing in tournaments. Why do you think that is?
The learning curve is brutal. It's a very punishing deck.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if you make mistakes, it can bite you pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
What Kali does is she basically has the fastest pivot plan of any deck in the game. So you're using literally the same pieces of cardboards in three separate strategies,
Mm-hmm.
and you can pivot your strategies more quickly than really any other deck can. But because it's the same physical pieces of cardboard, and you're not like drawing more cards to replace them if something goes wrong,
Mm-hmm.
if those get intercepted, you can end up in trouble. And so a lot of new players, when they pick up Kali, they're excited. They're like, "Wow, this is, this. You get the cheap monsters in. You get to be a reanimator deck, a storm deck,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get their table read wrong, and they overcommit to a plan, and they get blown out, and they're like, "Damn, I'm never trying this again." So that's usually where it goes wrong.
Okay, okay. So you think she's very underrated, and a lot of it's just skill based. You
It's skill. Well,
you've been playing this deck
yeah,
forever.
I'm not the only one for what it's worth. There is actually there's a girl in Japan. Her screen name's Zasyoku, and she won the 2023 Haruya event over in Osaka,
Mm,
one of the biggest events they had out there. And she did it on her own version of Kalia. Like,
cool.
there's maybe some inspiration from mine, but like, yeah, Like I'm not. She did it. She got those results all on her own.
Cool. So there's two
So
in the world. Okay. All
it's
right.
true.
There's two guys. I wanna re-sleeve her. I wanna talk about post ban how she is now. Just getting to know you a little bit. Did you play do you play any other decks or is this just your baby girl?
Yeah. So I play direct. I'm also a pretty big Derevi player.
Oh, I love Derevi.
Uh,
God.
Derevi. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, he's so
You
good.
know.
I'm so glad Nadu got banned. Derevi's not the best deck now.
Oh no. Oh man. So you saw like the no rod tech, like Nadu no rod with
Mm-hmm.
the nomads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
yep. That was like Vasher and me, and we had a whole design team. It was
Yeah, I built
that
it.
thing was lethal.
Yeah, it's stupid.
No way.
Yeah, yeah,
No way.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
You think Derevi's good with fucking One Ring? You haven't resolved a Nadu. I had fucking lightning
Yeah.
greaves in the deck. Come at me, bro. Like it was
Hell yeah.
that fucking Derevi's crazy. So that's cool. You're not just some Mardu piece of shit. Like you do play blue. Okay.
Yeah, I play blue. I play stacks. Kaalia, like I've gotten so it's kind of like I have to play it in tournaments just because of everybody who's been, saying it's bad, and so it's like screw it. If I'm gonna put something on the line, I'll bring Kaalia. But no, I don't.
Yeah.
I play stacks. I play everything.
Cool. Cool. Are you going to the Boil too?
Probably not. I
Oh,
I don't think I'm gonna have time this year,
damn it.
unfortunately.
Come on, man. I have 3 Kalias. You got to sign one of them.
Oh bad.
All right. All right. I
Maybe.
tried. It's the biggest tournament ever. I mean, if you win that, like no one can tell you nothing. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So, why do you think she works in CDH? You know
Oh
what I mean?
boy. Okay. So the reason why she works is because you put opponents in sort of a double bind situation
Mm,
where if they've got like a handful of counter spells and stuff like that,
mm-hmm,
the Kaalia attack plan, because most counter spells in CDH they only hit non-creature effects,
mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
Kaalia attack plan will go right through a counter spell kind of heavy board. Um, if they have creature removal in hands, like swords and path and all that,
Right.
then you can pivot to a spell-based combo and so dodge that way. And then on top of that, you also have insane stacked parity breaking. So like
Mm-hmm,
if there's a rule of law in play or whatever, instead of like having to wait till you find a piece of interaction to pop the stacks piece,
mm-hmm.
you just cheat a monster into play and you win straight through the stacks.
So Kali is viable. You're not just playing a Mardu strategy. Kali
No.
is the game plan.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You
Like
resolve a demon, you're winning the game, right?
yes, yes, that's right.
And that is viable because when I played the deck, like especially high power, it was just like play her turn 2. I'm doing the thing turn 3, but people see it coming because she doesn't have haste, and then they swords it, and then I'm out. I'm cooked. So you're saying, you play it a certain way, you tempo it out the right. That's your game plan, and then you can pivot to another plan.
Yep. Yeah, precisely. Like so if the table's holding up all the creature interaction,
Mm-hmm.
then you go the storm route or the reanimator route.
Mm-hmm.
Like and you have to the hard part is getting the table reads where you're like, does my opponent have the force of will? Do they have a sword? Are they holding a swan song
Yeah,
or
how do you
a
know?
flush to start?
Is it just experience?
It's a lot of experience, yeah.
Okay, especially you on this deck, like I was just talking to somebody about like Ian and Wounded on Kennen and Tyler on Kennen. It's like them with the random deck is they're a really good player. Then with the best, you see Ian on Kennen and you're sweating, right? You on Kaalia, then it's like, oh shit, I might pull for interaction, right? But I mean, you've been.
So and right. So wait. So what you just said is actually it. What interaction are you mulling for?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like so, Kaalia pre-ban. It's a deck that's putting up like turn 2.5 goldfish. So it's a turn 2, turn 3 deck.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Turn
so
3.
the
Yeah.
mid-range decks want to yeah. So the mid-range decks want to interact with it. What
Mm-hmm.
interaction are you looking for?
I see. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's the leveling game, and that's how you get into this interesting like little mental uh contest with the other players at the table because
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, what are you doing to go after me? And then you try to next level them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't really look at it like that. So, oh, okay, you have a Swords of Plowshares. I'm a tutor for this breach,
Right.
right?
Yeah, you got it exactly.
Okay, all right. I never looked at it like that. Maybe I it was me. I was playing the deck wrong.
No, well, this is what I'm saying. Is it's very like you have to have these reads, number one,
Hmm.
and number two, you have to know like all of the different pivot plans.
Hmm.
You have to have them down lock, and if
Yeah.
you don't have that, it's just very like I mean you sort of with the experiences that you're talking about because a lot of people they pick up the deck, they they are really obvious, they really commit to one thing, and they get blown out because they don't understand how to pivot with the pieces.
Hmm.
And they're like, yeah, I'm never gonna play this again. And it's like, yeah, but
Yeah. Well,
so
Mardu's just hard enough to bring in tournaments pre-ban. We'll talk about post-ban later, but pre-ban, like my brother, he loves Obnixilis. Obnixilis is fucking cracked, right? But he brought Obnixilis to a fucking 5K, and he was like, "It wasn't me. I lost because I don't have fucking interaction because my fucking opponents let people draw risk study, right?" So I think the Mardu shell is kind of you have to be a better pilot, right? Like for me, I'm not taking not blue to a tournament. That's just for me, that's how I feel. But with you're obviously I think I looked it up, you're like a top 50 player on top deck, like statistically, right?
I think I'm like 65 right now. There have
65.
been
Okay.
periods, yeah, there have been periods where I was probably much higher, but I just don't.
Hmm.
I kind of went on a break from playing tournaments,
Yeah,
and
I've
didn't
been there.
really stop. Yeah,
I got you.
so
What about now? Are you jamming her now?
since June, I've started going much harder. Um, yeah, I was doing. I just didn't have time. Bef so yeah, really from like 2023 to like June, I had other stuff I needed to do.
Hmm.
But June, SCG Vegas, with that top 16, it was like, all right, I'm gonna start going again hard.
Hmm.
Um,
Do you just? I'm so curious because I really do like Kaalia. Is this one of those decks, right? Just say I pick it up and I play 30 games with it and I'm cracked with it. I'm not as good as you are, right? It just seems to me, is this a deck that is really good in the Swiss because people don't really know? But once you get in like the top 16 where everybody knows you in this deck, everybody knows what to do with this deck, and then that's why you've top 16 like a lot but only won a few. Is that what this kind of deck is like? Or for you feel super confident no matter what you do, what table you go to?
I feel so I feel pretty confident. I would so the at the Open, I would say the reason I didn't get top four there is mostly due to my own mistakes, which
Okay.
can go through. Yeah, like and that's no shade at my opponents. I think it was just in a way it was my game to lose.
Hmm.
So I'm, they all again they all played great. So no shade at them.
Yeah, but I
Um,
think I heard a
the
little bit about it. You lost to Kovold with Rockside.
so that was actually my only loss in the Swiss.
Oh, okay.
Um, I was actually undefeated in except for that in the Swiss. But yeah, the other loss was in the top 16.
Mm.
Um,
Oh,
so
losing
my
twice in a tournament, that's rough.
that's how it is. I mean,
Yeah.
and like I can't complain. Like it's one of those like you see it and it's like all right, I need to just train harder. Um,
Yeah, no excuse. Yeah.
really, yeah, 100%. Like and that's yeah. So like the probably the strongest series of wins that I had
Hmm.
was in the LA meta kind of Finch and Sparrow game days. So while Monarch kind of like 2000 late 2022 all the way through 2023,
Hmm.
um, there was a big store in Los Angeles that was consistently firing like tournaments with pretty serious prize payout.
Hmm.
And they started doing a league where you're seeing like 40 players, like anywhere between 20 and 50 players just showing up twice a month. And my so they turned that into an actual league, and the farthest ahead I ever went is there was a period where I had like multiple of those tournaments winning undefeated, um, just because I was like that dialed in.
Mm.
Um, and that's and the everybody in the store knew my deck. Everybody in the region knew my deck. They knew how to fight it. And this is like playing with Shauna. Shauna Gills, uh, Jesse, Amped Gaming guys, like all those guys. So they knew how to fight it, but it's really has to do with like focus and work ethic. And again, like the top 16ing, it's really I would say it's really more due to practice. Like I just can't. I don't have as much time to play anymore.
Hmm. Okay, I got you. So I want to pivot into that. What's the strengths and the weaknesses in the deck?
Strengths and weaknesses. The strength, the best time. So when Kaalia is at its most cracked, is when you're playing into a diverse meta, like one storm deck, one stacks deck, one mid range deck,
Okay.
and if things are diverse, you're gonna cruise and cut through it very well. Um, Stacks metas, it handles very well. It handles mid range pretty well. When it's bad is usually when you're like against double or triple Grixis pods because you're just dealing with multiple opponents that are as fast or faster than you,
Right.
but then they also have blue.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine. Like Blue Farm and Rockside are probably your worst matchups, right? But everything else should be
Actually, I
fun.
don't. So I'm not actually afraid of blue farm at all.
Okay. All right.
Rog Rogsai is situational. So like if I'm in a Rogsai pod, if there's multiple of them, like two or three Rogsai players,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm toast. That's probably not going to go very well.
Yeah.
Um,
You're not gonna outspeed those guys. But I think
right,
that's a bad
exactly.
situation for everybody. I don't think Blue
Yeah,
Farm wants to see three Rocksides.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But one Rogsai, Kali can handle that pretty well actually.
Okay.
Because so that comes down to like knowledge about how you leverage white. White's
Mhm.
kind of an anti-blue color. In that
Oh,
like if you know how to use your silences and your ranger captains and your grand abolishers, um, it can do you can do wonders.
okay. Yeah, silence effects I think right now are the best they've ever been.
Yeah.
We'll get into that a little bit. I saw you have a couple of crazy tech pieces I want to talk about before we get into the deck tech. So a lot of the turbo decks, especially like Mardu, right? They got smacked with the band. Like I couldn't like Corvold and maybe some Rakdos decks are still there, right? But I think Turbo, like even Roxai got hit. I think Roxai's fine. Like that's my main deck right now. I think Roxai's gonna be okay. But these Mardu strategies, Dahada and all those, Dockside Mana Crypt are a huge hit. How bad did Kaalia get hit? And moving forward in the meta, how do you think she's gonna look?
So I was pretty depressed at first, frankly.
Me too. Me too.
Like I was
Mana
like,
Crypt. I was upset with Mana Crypt for 3 days.
right, yeah, yeah, there you go. There you go. All the wristics and the wheels. Yep. So I was pretty down. It was like, shoot, this is Razaketh lines are now gonna suck. Just all these things all across the board. And then I started playing it, and what I found was that it's at least in the meta that I play in, it was like rocking really high scores.
Yeah.
Like and it was to the point where some of the people that actually like talk because we're all the people in my meta we're all kind of friends, but there's folks that'll talk smack about Kaalia. One of them actually picked it up just for fun, made his own kind of mid-range version,
Hmm.
and went like 2 and 4 with it. So like that was very surprising. In
Mm.
terms of quantifying how much it's lost about half a turn of speed. Um, so before you had like a smattering of turn ones,
Hmm.
usually with your reanimate lines. You're mostly then it's like turn twos and turn threes with turn ones bringing it down.
Hmm.
Right now, in terms of speed, it is predominantly turn threes with a series of turn twos. I've seen one turn one in all of the goldfishing and all the games I've played since the bans, which is so it got slowed down.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
And we expect that, right?
yeah.
I
In
just
terms of
good.
sorry, go ahead.
Nah, my opinion on it is like I don't think a deck like this can just go, ooh, Dockside for 10, win. And that's what Marty was kind of good at.
Right,
Grand
right,
Abolisher,
yeah,
Dockside for 8. win the game somehow. So I feel like I talked to Shawnee about this, and he's like, well, now I kind of like. Okay, so for me, the first 3 days I was like this. The first 2 days I was like, this fucking sucks. Like, what the fuck, bro? This is why I play the format. This is why I play Mana Crypt. This sucks. Dockside, I get it. Nadu, I get it. Jewel Lotus Mana Crypt, I did not understand. Now a week later, I'm like, holy fucking shit. Now I'm excited to brew. Right now I'm excited to play. So but with like Kaalia, right? Like you said, hey, I'm not faster than Roxai, but like you still have your main game plan, right? Like you're so what does let's get into it. So what does your moles and what are you looking for in your opening hands? Like what is the game plan? Let's call you the first game plan. Is it just let me see what the 7 looks like and kind of pivot from there? Because I did try to play Kaalia mid range and I was falling flat on my face because it is Mardu. So with you, if you're picking up Kaalia, what are you looking for?
So if I'm picking it up, what I'm looking for in terms of baseline heuristics, you need to keep a hand that has mana and a payout. And then a payout, it's a little broader, it's a little bit esoteric, but basically you're looking at some sort of tutor type card, a
Okay,
wheel,
Smothering Tithe,
any kind of not so that's the mana aspect.
Necro. Oh,
Um
okay, okay.
yeah, Necro being an example, anything that gives you card advantage or card selection.
Dude, this deck
It,
is so
it's sort of
spicy.
like
Oh, damn. Sorry, go ahead.
oh, you good. So it's very like basic storm, it's very like normal storm deck, like what you play in like Legacy or something like that, where it's just
Mhm.
you want your mana, your dark rituals, your rocks, whatever it is, and you want some sort of like tutor piece, whatever, some payout.
Okay.
And then what you do is from there you have a critical decision. And the reason why it's mana plus payout is because if you just say you have like Vault, Dark Ritual, Petal, Land,
Hmm.
and I don't know, an Ad Nauseum, or actually no, let's do Demonic Tutor, okay?
Okay.
Like you've got this fast mana, and then you've got a Demonic Tutor. If you're just a pure Storm deck like Rogsai or something, you would normally play that fast mana out, and then
Hmm.
that Demonic Tutor is going to find an engine card like Ad Nauseum, or it's going to find Necropotence, and you're going to try to win with one of those, right?
Okay, like a normal storm deck.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So in Kaalia, you can do that. You have all of those options available,
Sounds like
but
Roxai.
there's yeah, yeah. So, but there's a decision point in between here,
Hmm.
which is that when you play out all your mana, you can go for your Storm engine, your Necro, your Nos, whatever,
Hmm.
or you can play your Kaalia. And when you
Okay.
play Kaalia,
Okay.
and when you play Kaalia, you still have that Demonic Tutor in hand. And now that Demonic Tutor can go and find Razaketh. It can find Hoarding Broodlord. It can find any of these monsters which just kill the table immediately.
Yeah,
So
Razaketh, Doom Whisper, Hoarding Broodlord, Villas. Okay.
right. And
So
that's the
those are
major decision.
yeah, so those are like the big necros. Villas is Adnaz, right? You resolve one of these, you're
Yes,
winning the game, is what you're saying.
exactly.
In
And
layman's
so you
terms.
you
Yeah.
yeah, so every card that puts a tutor to your hand, like a tutor target to hand, like Gamble, Grim Tutor, any of these things is just an A plus B with your commander.
Yeah. Well, I got before we get into the big demons, right? The reason why I love Kaalia, I
Sure.
got to keep it real with you though, right? So you're in Mardu, right? So what happens if your game plan, like you said, you can pivot easy? I don't see it. What happens when that gets shuts off? When you cast Kaalia, next turn you're winning the game, it gets swords, or you cast this breach and get countered. Like, how do you pivot in a Mardu deck? Because you don't have Ristic Study, you don't have Remora, you don't have the dumb busted stuff that blue like Force of Wills and stuff. So how do you pivot in a Mardu?
So this depends on the timing of how people play out their cards.
Okay.
So usually if you're against, so the easiest way to see this stuff
Mm-hmm.
is if you can imagine that hand I was telling you about. So you got a bunch of fast mana,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got a demonic tutor.
Yeah.
If you're playing against the stacks deck, right? The stacks deck will drop like a turn one rule of law
Ugh.
or a turn one, right? Something like that, right?
Mystic Study
And
or a
then
Mystic
now,
Remora or a yeah something gross.
right, exactly. And when you're doing the stuff with Kaalia, if you're a normal storm deck,
Mm-hmm.
you're now stuck until your actual 99 delivers you some sort of way to break out of the stacks lock.
Yeah.
Like you have to draw a chain of vapor, you have to draw,
Mm-hmm.
a sonic rift or something. For Kaalia, you don't have to wait. You literally just deploy Kaalia, and then you demonic tutor for your Razakath and kill them through their own stacks piece.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm just asking, the pivot you were talking about earlier. If that doesn't work, because you don't have a lot of draws in here, you have a bunch of tutors. So maybe that's why you're on the wheels. Wheel of Fortune, Wheel of Misfortune, Faithless Looting, right?
Yeah, so if somebody has gone for like a Source of Plowshares hand or whatever, you have to kind of get that. So again, reads are everything,
Mm,
but those kinds of situations are where you want to go for like the Storm line or the Reanimator line, because those
mm-hmm.
things will be able to kill the table usually through a single Source of Plowshares.
Okay.
And swords doesn't counter ad nauseum. It doesn't counter a wheel.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically you are countering the table's defensive posture with
Mm-hmm.
more aggression. This is kind of like, so if you go like if you're do you watch boxing or anything?
Mm-hmm. MMA,
This
boxing.
Yeah, okay. So this deck's kind of like the Mike Tyson, which is that you
Mm,
mainly want to keep, instead of like going and doing a defensive thing, you will double down with more aggression to
okay.
go and keep your opponent on the ropes.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
eventually they're going to run out of answers, and usually before you run out of threats.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. I just noticed. Now I'm actually looking at the deck, right? Like you're
Yeah, so it's
on
like
10 tutors, right? You're on every good removal spell you can play. You're on every silence effect. So I feel like you're giving up the Risic Study Mr. Gamora for the silence, for the Grim Tutor. Demonic Council. This is the best Demonic Council deck, guys. We found one. Quit putting this fucking card in
sure.
Rock's Eye. It goes in Kaalia.
No, you got it entirely. And like, so the thing is, each of these tutors are, if Kalia's out, each of the tutors are a demon. Each, if you don't have Kalia out, then each of these tutors are going to find your breach, your
Breach.
nos, whatever.
Nice. Yeah.
So you can just, it's basically a card quality versus a card advantage kind of fight. And part of the reason why I'm not so afraid of like the blue farm matchup or whatever
Mm-hmm.
is because Kalia's card quality is disgustingly high. And I will just kind of like
Yeah.
you just start wailing on them and you beat them into a corner, and they're like, oh, I gotta draw more cards, and you're like, okay, well, here's another demon. And so that's
Hmm.
the kind of match you end up against there.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to get it now. I'm starting to understand. Like, you can only take so many hits from Mike Tyson.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you're like, all right,
yeah.
I got the Force Will and the Kaalia. Okay. Next turn,
Right.
Demonic Tutor, Underoath Breach. Fuck, guys, we got anything? Okay, we got the Myra Track. Okay, cool. The next turn, Necropotence. We're out. Right? Like, this deck is fucking wild. So I do see what you're saying earlier. Now I'm actually looking at the deck. So I feel like with Dockside and Mana Crypt, like I don't even know if you're on Jewel Lotus, but Dockside and Mana Crypt, I could see where it definitely makes this deck a turn faster, probably like consistently winning. But I can see where as you as a pilot, right? It's probably just fine because then your card quality is so high in this deck. Like yeah, Skirk
Yeah.
Prospector and cards like that aren't the best cards in the world, but I feel like in this deck, it reminds me a lot of Magda. I feel like you're giving
Yeah,
up
it's
good
yeah,
cards. When I
yeah,
say good cards,
yeah,
I mean like blue. You give up the interaction, but you're adding in synergy. Dude, I just looked
yeah.
over this deck twice. Every single card is doing something in this deck. Like every card.
Oh
There's
yeah.
not a
It's not
card, oh, it's accidentally in here. No. Static Prison, it's for Dranis. Necropotence, Necromancy, Anime Dead. All that's for your demons, right? You have all the removal. You have Orange Chant, another silence, Final Showdown. That's an instant speed board wipe. That's it's a dress down. You're on the Final Fortune Necro stuff. You're on the wheels when you're proactive, right? So I definitely see what you're saying now. Now I'm getting my mind around it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you got it. Like it's basically all of the pieces in here need to be like pound for pound, they need to punch hard.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
because you don't because you don't have 10 counter spells or whatever, that you're dedicating spots of the deck to,
Mm.
you end up filling those slots usually with more haymakers, which the commander then rewards. Because so you think about like what Kaalia does. Kaalia reads make 8 mana, put a game-winning monster, put an ad nauseum onto the stack. It cannot be countered. Like
Mm.
that's what Kaalia really reads.
Yeah, I don't
And
see any of
people,
these. Yeah, if you resolve a Villas in the response to swords, it's like, okay, I'll pay 2 life, draw 2 cards. I'll pay 2 life, draw 2 cards. Okay, you're gonna respond to my Hoarding Broodlord ETB trigger? Like, okay. You know what I mean? You still get
yeah,
a yeah, Razakath?
right.
Okay. Let me sack my Kaalia, win the game real quick. I want to get a Doom Whisperer later. He's my favorite demon in this deck. We'll get about that guy later. But I,
Sure.
I see what you're saying. I feel like this is one of the decks that you do counter the tutor. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no. You're 100% right. So that's the thing is that's the kind of prisoner's dilemma you force people into, which is like you play out Kaalia and then you put your tutor on the stack, and the table looks around and they're like, "Are we really gonna flusterstorm a Grim Tutor?" But they have to because if they don't, they're gonna die. And the threat's now still in the deck, like that
Mm,
Razaketh, that Hoarding Broodlord, that's still in the deck. That's still live and ready to go. And you
mm,
just the deck is full of so many of these payouts that you're gonna hit a tutor pretty or whatever pretty soon. Like it's like a
mm.
1 in 3 draws that you're gonna find something.
Yeah, I have it written down here about what's the win cons, but I literally scrolling through this deck, I found like 7. Like
Yeah,
any of the demons,
that's
they're all win cons. Breach, you have the dual caster mage stuff, and then the dual caster mage, Sawn half, Praetor's Grass. I assume you're on Sawn half, right?
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
Sawn half. You have reanimator lines. Like I don't think that the winning the game is hard in this deck.
No, well, okay, so this is actually the worst part about Mardu, and basically every deck except Timna Jessica suffers from this issue,
Mm-hmm.
which is that your actual like combo that kills the opponents is terrible. All the Mardu decks except TJ are terrible at actually finally because like you will have people dead, deterministically dead, like 10 spells before you actually get your final thing online. And for Kaalia, it's dual caster mage, Sawn half, and then you either use Praetor's Grasp or Orcish Bowmasters to do infinite damage, or you exile everybody else's library.
Mm.
You can also do things like Breach, Praetor's Grasp, steal opponents' win cons. You can wheel Orcish Bowmasters. Like, there's a whole litany of effects that you can do, but
Mm.
the actual final, like,
Yeah.
you'll be sitting there for like 10 minutes playing with your cards, and opponents are like, "Do you have it yet?" And it's like, "I do. I'm sorry for torturing you. You died a long time ago, but I
Yeah,
have to play
yeah,
this
yeah.
out."
I just noticed you're not on Twin Flame or Molten. I thought you were. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a whole discussion. Kalia wins, so she wants to win second main. And if you're on Dualcaster Mage, Molten or Dualcaster Mage Twin Flame, you want to
It's
win
awkward.
in combat.
Okay.
Right. So
I was just thinking like, hey, I got this Jessica's Will for 6. I win the game. Right? That's what I was thinking, but I don't play the deck.
no, so some Kalia players are in love with that. Like, and
Mhm.
I don't like when they cut, so when we have a pretty active Kalia Discord, and they're always like, I love Molten Duplication and all that. And I'm like, excellent. Those are great cards. If you get
Mhm.
good value out of them, that's rocket.
Yeah, maybe post Dockside it's not as good because that was always the back, right? I can win the game or second main, I can make another Dockside. Now you can't.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. So let me, before I get into the demons, I have to ask you ad nauseum.
Okay.
There's 4 big
Yeah.
reasons why not to play ad nauseum in this deck, right? 8 mana, 8 mana, 8 mana, 5 mana. How the fuck is that? Even if like I had a Tevish Crom as my baby that is now dead in the water. That was my baby, and
No,
everyone's like, "Why are you on Hullbreaker? You're an Adnos deck." Never came up. Wasn't a big deal. I had one big 7 drop. That was it. I had Hullbreaker Horror and Force of Will. That was it. In this deck, are you sad nosing a lot? Like, does it not really come up? Like, talk to me.
I need to. So this is actually something I need to test the rates on. All I have, so I used to have these numbers super crunched in.
Mm-hmm.
Since the bans, I just need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've done some like rough testing and comparing Ad Nauseam to Bolas's Citadel. Ad Nauseam still feels very good.
Okay.
But I need to come back with a more definite answer for here. But as for why it works, that I do have an answer for. Um, and the easiest way to understand it is that there are two factors into whether or not an ad nauseum is successful. One is life total.
Mm-hmm.
So if you run out of life, you die and you can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
The higher your life is, the deeper into your deck you can go. The other one is mana. So if you have a 5 mana ad nauseum, you just put 5 mana to Nos, and then you have 0 floating,
Mm-hmm.
you must hit 0 mana artifacts or a Simian Spirit Guide or some sort of 3 mana effect in order to storm off. Like you
Mm-hmm.
need you need mana to unlock all of the cards that you've drawn. However, if you have mana floating, so like say you've got 5 mana for Nos, and then you've got like one black one a Badlands open, right?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, all of your 0 CMC ramp spells, like your Lotus Petal, your Chrome Mox, all those are turned on, but so are all your 1 mana ramp spells, like your Dark Ritual's on, your Rite of Flame's on, your Mana Vault's on,
Soul
and
Ring.
so right, and so the more mana you have going into your ad nauseum, the more likely it is to succeed and be a scary storm thing.
Mm-hmm.
So for Kaalia, part of the reason the way that we manage this stuff is the mana going into the ad nauseum. We're usually looking at having a Nos with like 2 mana floating or 3 mana floating or even 1 mana floating. And when you have that, you're astronomically more likely to be successful in storming off.
I just saw, yeah, fucking Mind Goblin. I
Right,
hate this
right.
stupid
And so
card.
that's
I see what you're saying. You have a lot of rituals.
yeah.
This is like fucking Rogsai, but fucking crack cocaine. You know what I mean? Like you're the cousin of Rogsai that you don't bring to the fucking the cookout because you might fuck
Oh
everything
yeah.
up.
No,
Like you're mana, all mana. I love Children of Corliss. That's one of my favorite cards.
yeah, no, you got
I
it.
see
And
what
so
you're
like Dockside, what we used to do is this was the bad engine that's in the deck's name. I did not come up with that name, by the way. That was a guy named Coco Loco. It was
saying.
actually a Corvold and Jaleva player. That's
What does that mean?
he
By the
made.
way,
So it stands for Breach Ad Nauseam Dockside.
Dockside. That was the. Oh, are you gonna change it?
Well, so this is a funny point, which is that Dockside's gone, but it turns out that the the engine that the deck was built around, sort of this in and out from graveyard, sack and reanimate kind of, but you're flashing back the Dockside or whatever.
Mm.
It turns out that that's actually still live, thanks to things like Hoarding Broodlord, because you get to use Burnt Offering and Sacrifice there.
Yeah.
So hoarding, yeah, basically Hoarding Broodlord is now like an 8 mana Cabal ritual. Like you make 8 mana off of it.
You win. You win
Uh,
the game.
right. So the
Yeah.
engine still is actually fully functional. It's just now we have to use like Sticker Goblin and
Yeah.
Broodlord and
Yeah.
like all these other.
I think D should sound for a demonic council. We're gonna take
Yeah,
away your
yeah,
dock
no, for
side,
real.
but we're gonna give you the best tutor you could possibly dream of in
Right.
Kaalia.
So that's the joke. Is like I was talking with people in the Kaalia Discord. It's like, well, okay, Dockside's gone, but all the demons are still there. Do we just keep literally the same name and say Breach Ad Nauseam Demons? Like, is
Yep.
that
Perfect.
it's the
Demonic tutor.
right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, the name doesn't go anywhere. That's dude, that's so sick. So I want to backtrack just a little bit before we get into the demons. So building this deck and sleeving this deck, obviously the first iteration wasn't this, right?
No.
How
Oh
did you
God, no.
sleeve up Kaalia and then decide to do this crazy turbo ad nause strategy with the demons? How did that come to fruition? I have to ask you as a fellow Kaalia lover.
Oh man. So this took like literal. It. I needed to number one get better as a Magic player. There's a
Mhm.
whole like hurdle of events that I had to like personally overcome before the deck got to looking how it is.
Mhm.
The easiest way, so it started as basically a stacks list. I was back in 2012, I was the first jerk to get cards house banned in our tabletop EDH meta.
Me too, brother.
It was like winter. There you go. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, it was like Winter Orb and War's Toll, and what you do is you lock out everybody's lands, right? And then you just play Kaalia, and then you cheated your monsters
Oh
through
yeah,
that.
oh yeah, dog. I played fucking Armageddon in my high power list. I don't need
There
lands.
you go. Yeah,
I I ancient copper dragon. I was on fucking everything. You name it. I don't give a fuck about lands.
yep,
I would
yeah.
do
So
the
no, but you brought it.
Avacyn. You know what I'm saying? Everything as indestructible, and then board wipe, destroy your lands with Avacyn out.
Yeah, that was the classic Kaalia build, and that like there's a guy named Kuma Cabal Therapist who's like OG Kaalia mass land destruction dude. He's the one that pioneered all that. That was the OG.
Yeah,
Um,
deck's a blast to play, by the way.
but
If no one's played it in high
yeah,
power, oh, it's so much fun.
yeah. And there's still guys that are out there rocking this, like that love it.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's definitely still a thing. Um, but yeah, so like I did that for a while, but what I started realizing is as things are getting more competitive, is that like the mana bases were diversified enough that you couldn't just lock people out that way. Combat damage was not an efficient win con when you've got 120 opposing points of life totals.
Mm-hmm.
So I started experimenting more with different combos, and this got to sort of the first. I played around with Doomsday. That was memey. It won some games, but it was a meme. And then I kind of stumbled on Reanimator, and what was kind of the Kaalia combo in 2016. I did not come up with this. I need to go and find the guy who did. But the idea was that you would cheat in Runescarred Demon, and then you've got Entomb and Animate Dead. And Runescarred Demon will find whatever you're missing
Mm-hmm.
from your Entomb or Animate Dead. So if you have an Animate Dead in hand, Runescarred finds you the Entomb, or vice versa. And
Yeah.
then what you do
Yeah.
is what you do from there is you load up with your World Gorger Dragon combo. Entomb, World Gorger Dragon, Animate Dead it. And now with your blinking Runescarred Demon infinitely, so you tutor up your entire deck at instance, you tutor up your whole deck, and then you flash in like a Bogardan Hellkite or some sort of instant speed kill condition, and you kill the table with that. So that was OG Kaalia Reanimator, is that archetype. And that was what kind of, when that got cracked, it opened up the floodgates. So Kaalia World Gorger Reanimator. And that became like, so that whole tech, and I went super deep. So again, I wasn't the first person, but I went pretty hard in piloting it. I was basically the only Kaalia player in the online CDH community pushing the Reanimator stuff. So I was, front line with that.
Mm.
And the World Gorger Dragon kind of Mardu Reanimator thing, that became my bread and butter. And so from there, it started pivoting more from stacks and into this kind of into a Reanimator list.
Mm.
And then the next thing that kind of changed from there. So just imagine like Black Red Reanimator, like from Legacy,
Mm-hmm.
but instead of your sideboard show and tells, like so opponents bring in their graveyard hate in game 2, you just have your Kaalia. That's your show and tell. It's just your show and tell in the command zone.
Mm.
So that was kind of the philosophy. And then what happened was in 2020, I started linking up. I started playing more with some of the Turbo Adnaz guys.
Mm.
And I'd been playing the strategy on my own in decks like Circu, and so I was pretty familiar with how to pilot NOS decks and Storm decks.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't like, and I was actually I wasn't a chump when it came to like those things. I wouldn't say I was one of the best players out there, but I knew what I was doing. But suddenly, like I'm in VC every night with these really, really good ad nauseum players and these really good Storm players, and I realized, what if I try this in Kaalia? Like, what? Just hear me out. Like, what if this is dumb? This is completely just a meme.
Yeah.
What happens if we bring Storm here?
And that's what it is.
And
yeah, it's a fucking meme, and it works.
Right, and that's literally what happened. Yeah. That's literally what happened.
Dude, that's crazy.
So yeah, I tried it, and it worked. It was like, holy crap! Now I have Storm when opponents have kill spells. I have the Kaalia plan when they have the counter spells or stacks.
Mm-hmm.
I have it's this triple threat deck, that so long as you're dialed into what the table's doing, you can just literally put more aggression on them, if they try to go
Yeah.
defense.
Yeah. So let's talk about.
So,
Yeah, I want to go. Were you finished? I'm sorry.
yeah, no, that's it. That's it. It's
Okay.
it's a kind of a dumb story, but
No,
that's
that's
it.
fucking dope, bro. That's I, when people play a deck like this, right? I'm like, oh, okay, they're probably new to CDH. And then when people fucking start dunking on people in a deck like this, anybody can win with fucking Blue Farm, right? Like a deck like this, and you're like, hey guys, y'all don't think this is viable, but here's the stats to prove it. Like, that's what I love. So I want to talk about a couple individual deck card choices, right? Because I did look at a few others I didn't really see, but your main one, I'm going to talk about a couple. I'm going to get into the demons, and then maybe I could do a couple like test hands, and you can like walk me through it. Because this podcast
Sure.
is mainly about getting people into CDH and then getting regular CDH player into tournaments.
Yeah, 100%.
So you got to sell me on Gleeful Demolition, Shallow Grave, and there's another one I saw when you were talking that I was like, oh no. I don't remember. Oh yeah, the Goblin, but it's mana. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's up with Shallow Grave? Is that just like is the Reanimator like that good? Like that is a package.
Yeah, it's that good. I
Okay.
you don't have to play Shallow Grave, so like again, plenty of Kaalia players ask me like, "Do you need this?" And I'm like, "No. You can run Archivist of Ogma. You can run.
Okay.
There's a whole viable suite of things." The reason why I like Shallow Grave personally is because the black red engine is based around sort of spamming creature abilities in and out of the graveyard.
Mm.
And Shallow Grave is a hyper efficient instant speed reanimator effect. So like if you
Okay.
have a ranger captain in play, right? And you sacrifice ranger to silence somebody else,
Okay.
and then you get to your turn, you can Shallow Grave that ranger captain back.
Oh, and then crack it. Now you
Right.
have protected win.
Right.
If they
So
don't counter the
basically what these
shallow grave, you win. Okay.
right. Yeah, exactly. And so what these do is basically all of these animate effects, they are copies of whatever creature you have in the graveyard. If you have Ranger, you have a copy of Silence. If you've got Sticker Goblin, it's a copy of Seething Song. If you've got Hoarding Broodlord, now it's a Demonic Tutor.
Tutor. Yeah.
So the Shallow Grave is just an instant speed effect that dodges targeted graveyard hate because it just takes whatever the top card of your top creature of your in your graveyard and puts it directly into play.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I'm thinking of sleeping this deck back up. Now I have a better understanding. After this, can you send me the Discord? I used to be in
Sure.
it,
Yeah.
and then I deleted a lot of my. When I quit Magic, I deleted like half my Discords. After this, whatever.
Yeah. No.
And then Gleeful, is that just Graphic Cage because this is a reanimator deck?
So Gleeful, I was actually looking to cut this card as the deck was evolving because Razaketh Dockside lines were just gorgeous and they were these, it's like, do it really need this? But Gleeful's really for Razaketh lines. You blow up one of your own artifacts, it makes three little goblins,
Yeah.
and now you've got three demonic tutors with Razaketh. So it's
Yeah.
for making those lines work.
I was on this on my Rog Tevish because I would just jam a Razagath as soon as I can and I win, right? But I just didn't know if that. I guess it could get rid of the Graph Diggers. Okay,
Sure,
so
yeah, that too.
yeah,
Yeah.
so if I were to pick up the deck, we gotta talk about the demons. But if I were to pick up the deck right now, or a new person would pick up the deck, how many cards like the Shallow Graves and the Gleeful would you say, hey, leave the deck alone as it is, play it, test, give me 10 games, and then play whatever cards you want? Like, how much is this deck like? You know what I'm saying?
How much of it's like my personal versus what I think is like core?
Yeah, like is it
I'd say
95? Hey, don't touch these cards, and the 5 of these are my pet cards. Is this very flexible? That's the word I was looking for. Is it flexible? Is it this? Like if I were to sleeve up your list right now, and I wanted to add say 3 cards you weren't on, like could I do that? Or you're like, no, guys, don't touch this list. Play this list first.
Yeah, you absolutely could do that. There's actually a lot of modularity in not just there's a lot of modularity in Kaalia in general.
Mm-hmm.
But even within like my list for the storm stuff, I'd say it's probably between 15 and I want to say there's like 8 spots usually that you can play around with.
8. Okay.
And
Okay. So
sometimes it's
there's
even
room.
more. Yeah,
Yeah, I only see like
yeah.
3 or 4. To be honest, if I were to sleeve it up, I see about 3 or 4. I would change, and that's about it. But I don't know what I would change. Like I hate Wheel of Misfortune. I'm not touching
Yep.
stickers. You can't pay me, right? Stuff like that. But I just don't want to sleeve it up and then do that, and then you're like, well, you wonder why you're not winning because you changed the deck, and this is the core of the deck, right?
So
So,
right now is actually a really, really good time to be playing. Like, if you have a brew or something you want to test with Kaalia, right now is really good. And
yeah,
the reason why is because there's yeah, basically there's multiple different Kaalia archetypes, which are totally viable. And
mm-hmm.
I just happen to have a popular list, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't. My version does not beat all else,
Mm-hmm.
and that needs to be really clear. If you were gonna like make changes in here, Wheel of Misfortune, that can be changed in favor of something else. So like if say you wanted to go more mid-rangey, right? Like you wanted to bring in Trouble in Pairs, you wanted more lands, so less stormy, less aggressive, but you want to be more kind of mid-game stable. You'd be like bringing another land, so cut Skirt Prospector, bring in a land. Maybe Wheel of Misfortune for like a draw engine, like Trouble in Pairs or the One
Ogma,
Ring.
wondering.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. You could bring in. You could cut out Shallow Grave in favor of something else. Um, what else is in here that could go? Vexing Bauble could be something else. I love that card, but it could technically be something else.
Mm-hmm.
You could cut Doom Whisper. I wouldn't
No
recommend it, but you
way.
could.
No
Yeah.
chance. No shot.
Oh yeah.
That's the best card of the deck.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. But we'll talk about that. That'll be
It's
the
a
last
fun.
thing we're gonna talk about. Yeah. Maybe another silence effect like Orange Chant. Like some people are on
Sure,
it, some
you could
people
bring
aren't.
in. Yeah, you could bring that in. You could bring in Flare of Duplication. You could bring in Myrel, like the big 4 mana chunky Grand Abolisher.
Molten
Like,
duplication.
yep, yep.
I
There's a
got
whole
you.
host of things you could bring
Okay, yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm definitely yeah, maybe 2 or 3 cards for me personally, but I got you. I got you. But now I hope that helped anybody else that liked this deck or was kind of like, whatever he plays Kaalia. Like now, it has a better idea. Like this deck is definitely good, right? Like for sure. Okay, so let's talk about the 4 fucking monsters. So
in.
what demon are you looking for in every single game? The best demon in the deck, or does it matter of pod composition? Let's kind of go through the 4 demons and let's talk about them. So we got Villas.
So Villas is your stacks parity breaker. This thing obliterates stacks decks because number
Yeah,
one, they can't attack into you anymore. If they send their dudes into you,
please.
you're gonna draw. Right, you're just gonna draw 8 cards.
I
It's
won't
like, oh yeah,
block.
please, please.
I'm not gonna block with
Right.
Villas. I promise.
Yeah, so that actually happens for. So you ever see the movie The Watchmen?
Oh no, I don't think I have.
Okay, so there's this. It's a superhero movie, but it's kind of like gritty. There's a scene in there where one of the characters gets thrown into prison, and he's kind of like a pseudo Batman type character, but he's obviously more gritty. And the inmates are coming around, and they're trying to beat him up, and then he trashes them. He fights them off, and the inmates are standing around scared, and the guards are dragging away. And this character Rorschach, he yells back at the crowd, and he's like, "You don't understand. I'm not trapped in here with you. You are trapped in here with me."
That's Villas.
That's what this deck is when Stax shows up. And you're like, all right, it's Villas time. And it's
Oh,
nasty because you
so
control what
good.
pieces are on the board. So
Yeah.
you can yeah, you can just like strategically lock out the other Storm decks, leave one of their, leave something around that you don't care about. Like it's dirty.
Can we
Villas is
can
dirty.
we talk about reanimating Villas?
Hell yeah.
Guys,
Okay. All right.
Villas sees reanimate, right?
All right, so Villas and Reanimate. So Entomb Reanimate. Villas Reanimate
Are
is,
we on Entomb?
I think it's the most fun line in the deck.
Oh
Like
yeah.
if there was something, yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know, when you cast Reanimate targeting a Villas in the graveyard, Villas enters the battlefield. It sees the life loss from Reanimate. So you draw 8 cards. And then from there, what you try to do is you try to hit like a fetch land. Play your fetch land, crack the fetch land, you
Draw
lose a
two.
life, draw a card.
Draw 2
Tutor up
cards.
a shock land. Yeah, well, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Shockland comes into play, you draw 2. You just did a free Ancestral Recall. And then from there, what you're looking to do is manually storm off. And the crazy kind of thing is that you'll find like Burnt Offering or Sacrifice.
Yeah.
You sacrifice the Villas, so now you've got like 8 mana,
Hmm.
and then you cast another Animate Dead effect on the Villas.
Yeah.
So you get it back, and now you've got 6. And then you pay some life, draw some more cards, kill some creatures. And what you're doing is you're digging until you find Breach. Once you find Breach,
Game's over.
there's a loop. Yeah, right. So what you do is you have a loop. You have reanimate the Villas, sacrifice the Villas to Burnt Offering. So you're drawing cards, losing life, and making mana just like Breach LED. Except the Villas actually draws you the cards.
You can only
And the
do it
table's
though, what,
determined.
3 times though, 3 or 4. So it's like an Adnos.
Yeah, it's basically it's the Yawgmoth's bargain. It's a build your own Yawgmoth's bargain.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Um,
You do it 4 times. I'm gonna draw 32 cards, take 32 life. I think I win here, guys.
right, exactly.
Oh,
And then you get dirty
Villas.
things with like Wheel of Misfortune. So Wheel of Misfortune, if you pay like 30 life into a Wheel of Misfortune, the
My.
wheel will resolve. You'll draw your 7, and then the life loss goes on the stack. Villa sees it, and then you draw 30 cards on top of the 7 from the wheel. So it's like there's things like that which just go nuts.
All right, I might keep it in. You got me. You sold me.
Wait, okay. So one downside about Villas, and if you go look at like the Japanese Kaalia players, you will notice that they don't run it. And the reason why is because there is a non-bow. So if somebody plays Orcish Bowmasters and you have a Villas in play, that will create a loop where you lose your life infinitely. You will draw your deck too, but you're going to lose all your life and die. So when you do a Villas line, you have to leave like a black open. And the
Oh,
reason why,
to
yeah,
kill
so
it.
you can hit your Sacrifice or Burnt Offering effect.
When you lose life, draw the mini card. So you lose 1. Orcish triggers, pings you in the face. You lose 1. Orcish triggers.
Right.
Ooh, I
It's
can
very
see it.
janky. But so what's crazy is I've had opponents that'll OBM me thinking they've got me, but I've left mana up because I knew they had an the orcs in hand. I'll draw like 20 cards, hit one of the sacrifice effects, play it, sack Villas. Now I've got 8 mana, and they just did the dirty work for me.
Mm. Well, and
So
like
you have
black's easy, right? Dark ritual, Cabal ritual, calling the weak. So you can
yeah,
easily get black. Okay, in response to Bowmaster, let me fucking poke it
yes.
real quick. Yeah.
Well, so you can't actually shoot the Bowmaster. You can't activate Villas to kill it. You literally have to find something like Swords to Plowshares or a Burnt Offering effect, as you're going through. So what that means is all your right. So all your sacrifice effects are live. So are all your instant speed tutors. And so there's an interesting like little level game in here where like the opponent sometimes this is people look at me like I'm nuts, but there are times where you will actively want the opponents to Orcish Bowmasters you when you have the Villas because they're giving you the chance to storm off.
Because you can respond, right? So say they hit you 10 times and it's looping, and then you're like, oh, okay, I found what I wanted. Now I'm going to sack the Villas and win, right?
That's right.
I see what
Yeah,
you're saying.
that's
You're like,
exactly how you
oh,
play it.
darn, you got me. Let's do the loop. Draw, lose life, draw, 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 draw. I'll respond.
Yeah,
Calling the
exactly. That's
weak
right.
ad nauseum or whatever it is. Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
That's
you
sick.
got it.
That's sick. So Razakath, I don't think Razakath needs any fucking introduction.
That should be.
Pay 2 life,
This is
sack a Ragavan, sack a Kaalia, win the game.
yeah, you
Right.
got it.
Yeah, that's. I feel like Hoarding Broodlord, we could talk about a little bit. That was the Runescar Demon, right? That was a fucking
Yes.
upgrade, right? Talk about an
Oh, yeah.
upgrade. Just put his dick on the table.
So, oh man. Okay, so something that a lot of people don't know is that the Kaalia RuneScar demon lines are still very viable.
Mm.
And sometimes, like just as a joke, I'll like take out Nas, bring in Boas's Citadel, and just go on like a 6 demon build just to
Ugh.
like troll my friends with.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
But
It's different.
yeah, like so okay, so Hoarding Broodlord, what it does is the RuneScar demon lines. So we lost World Gorger Dragon, obviously.
Mm.
Then it became Ephemerate RuneScar Demon. Ephemerate goes and finds Final Fortune and Breach, or Final Fortune and Razaketh, and you just tutor through and go do that.
Mm.
And then it became Saw in Half, and burnt offering. So you would, if you have Runescar Demon, you attack. You got 4 mana left. Saw and half Runescar. Now you got 2 tutors. One tutor finds your burnt offering. The other tutor finds your ad nauseum, and you go crazy.
Or anything else.
Hoarding Broodlord,
Necro.
yeah, Hoarding Broodlord does the same thing,
Mhm.
but it needs only 2 mana available as opposed to 4,
Mm.
which is, or you can have 2 creatures, which is dirty, like really dirty. Uh, the
Yeah.
downside of Broodlord is that you're dead in the water to Drannith Magistrate, and you can't Demon Chain. So what you could used to do in Kaalia is you would attack with Runescarred Demon, tutor up Razaketh, pass the turn, attack now with with Kaalia again, drop Razaketh, and you've just got this disgusting kind of snowball effect.
Mhm.
You can't really do that with Hoarding Broodlord, but as a reanimator card, as in terms of just pure efficiency, it does all those better, basically.
Yeah, I think when Broodlord came out, people were still hot on Pyramid of the Abyss. Well, Fair Education and SWAT shut that down, but it was Broodlord, tap the Broodlord, with 2 extra mana, or tap 3 creatures, saw in half. You have 2 of them, Burn Offering, Pyramid of the Abyss. With this deck, the second thing can be anything: a Necro, an
Yes.
Adnos, a
Yes.
fucking Breach, a Breach, and a whole lot of black mana, right? Like, Broodlord's a win con. Like, that card is
Oh
fucking
yeah.
busted. That card is
Yeah, you
so
got it
good.
precisely. Like you can literally go burnt offering into hardcast Razakath. Like you don't even have to like it's
Villas.
dirty. Right, exactly.
That's so gross. Oh, that's so good. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about Doom Whisperer. Talk to me.
Oh boy.
Is he not? I don't. We. It's already been an hour, but we got to. We got to spend a couple minutes on this guy. This has got to be my favorite card in the deck, and I don't think anyone sees it coming. Especially if you have like Children of Corliss lines. Like, let's talk about
Yeah.
Doom Whisperer a little bit.
Okay, so the easiest way to understand Doom Whisperer is that it's like a creature. So it's a creature version of an ad nauseum stapled to an entomb, stapled to a Limdol's vault, stapled to a vampiric tutor. Uh, and on its own, you can pass the turn with it, and then your upkeep you start triggering it, fill up your graveyard, stack the top with whatever cards you want, and then you win. Yeah, that's the easiest way to play it. In terms of the best ways to play it, the best way to think about it is that it's an A plus B, with anything that can pop the top of your library, so like a draw spell, a looting effect, any of those that will work. Even a surveil land because you just mill out the top into your graveyard.
Mm.
So anything that pops the top is an A plus B. Any tutor with it is an A plus B. Any play from the grave effect, like a Savine's
Sabine's
Reclamation
Rec.
or an Animate Dead effect, all of those are also A plus Bs.
We're talking
So
about
it's like an A
Breach.
plus.
It's a brain
Yep,
freeze.
that too. Yes, it is the brain freeze.
Yeah.
It is the brain freeze in Kaalia. That's right. You got it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I played
it's
the
just
deck.
it's very yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. So,
It,
what were you saying? Go ahead.
well, so it's just this very versatile card, and there isn't really anything that quite does what it does. It's not perfect, and like there are metas that I would cut it. So like if you're playing against 3 Rogside players every night, yeah, I would cut the Doom Whisperer.
Mhm.
Then you probably want something else in that spot. It's just not gonna load up for you.
No way.
Um,
No, I feel like this card, like me playing
you get
the me playing this card, bro. People don't even understand. Like, if you think the new Surveil lands are busted, like imagine a 5 mana Surveil 2 and you can keep going. Right? It's just like Kaalia, attack trigger, Doom Whisperer. You can win in your combat with this card. Or post main
yes.
your
Oh yeah.
Surveil 2, Surveil 2, Surveil 2, Surveil 2, Surveil 2. Oh, I got the Savine's Vec targeting my Underworld Breach. Okay, Surveil 2,
Yeah.
Surveil 2, Surveil 2, Demonic Tutor, Vamp Tutor, whatever it is. Like, what I said earlier, what demon are you looking for every game? Is it just Razakath Broodlord, or
These days, so it's fluctuated at times. I would say Razaketh is by far the most common search. But it depends. Like if you're fighting into stacks, you probably want Villas. There's scenarios where Hoarding Broodlord is the best search, especially if you got like a Burnt Offering in hand already,
Mm-hmm.
or you've got some more mana available. It's situational, but usually it's a Razaketh line or a Villas line. Those are the two most popular.
Okay, but Doom Whisperer will get you there though for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And Children are Coreless. I can't imagine taking 30 life. Children are Coreless, gaining 30 life, taking 30 life. Now you surveilled 60 fucking cards.
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I love
Children, what
that.
it does is it lets all these lines become deterministic. So like that Villas loop we were talking about earlier, or the Doom Whisperer one you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
all those now become deterministic. You can draw your
Mm-hmm.
entire deck, or you can mill your entire deck out.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
well, what if you sad Nas with, with ad nauseum, you sad Nas, and you go, oh, okay, well, I just don't die. I just sad Nas, sack Children Coreless past turn. Get a good 7, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Necropotence,
Exactly. Yep.
take 30, gain
Yep.
30, take 30, 60 on my end step.
Yes. Oh yeah. 100%. And
You're
if
on
you have like
emergent
a red
zone.
source,
Yeah,
you got it. Yeah. 100%.
I got it, dude. I'm sleeving this deck up. All right, you got like 5 more minutes. I want to go through some hands.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, well, you can't see, but kind of talk through it. Okay, going second. I got a Dark Rit, Adnaz, Demonic Tutor, Mana Vault, Oppo, Praetor's Grass, Shallow Grave. No lands, obviously.
Yeah. You gotta throw
So,
that back.
second 7, we got, Jesus Christ, 5 lands going the week, Tana Pact. Right?
In a stacks game, so if you see stacks show up, that's actually keepable.
Oh,
Um,
no, dog.
I know
Ugh.
that's kind of the thing, is that you do have everything here to beat the stacks player, which you've got a Tainted Pact that's going to find your demon.
Going the week.
You've got lands lands of stability. You can just
Yeah.
play your Kaalia, Tainted Pact, and kill them.
Okay. So going to 6. So you got Surveil Land, City of Traders, then you got Burn Offering, Grinding Station, Sacrifice, Beseech Samir, and Adnos. This is interesting.
So you don't have a rock in there.
No.
So Beseech is off. I would go to 5
Go to
with this.
5.
This is a keepable hand. Yeah, but I would go to 5. This is keepable in some scenarios, but I would go to 5 though.
Okay, let's go to 5. I think this deck molds really good too. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's a winner. We got Dark Rit, Entomb, Land, Hoarding Broodlord, Children of Corliss, Mox Opal, Emergent Zone. So we have
That's a keep.
2 lands,
Yeah.
put back Mox Opal, put back Broodlord. Right. So 2
Well, it
lands,
depends.
Children, Corliss, Entomb, Dark Rit.
Get rid of the children. Actually, keep the Hoarding Broodlord.
Okay. Yeah.
And the reason why is because the Hoarding Broodlord in hand. Now you've got Kaalia attacks lined up. Entomb pairs with whatever animate effect. So if you rip an animate dead effect, or if you rip a tutor, you could be looking at a turn 2
over.
combo here potentially.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You're going
Yeah.
second. Yeah, so we drew Steelcaster Mage, drew Deflecting Swat. Okay, so we're doing the Kaalia thing turn 3 with Broodlord.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's look at another one. I like that. That's a good idea. A Talisman, Goblin, Grand Abolisher, Faithless Looting, Bowmaster, Diabolic Tent, 1 land.
What's the land?
Scrub land. Probably ship it.
Yeah, you ship it. If you had a red source, different matter.
I wish you
but
could see these, but it's fine.
it's all good.
No lands on that one. Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, no land.
Oh god.
To 6, we are going second. We got Merchant Zone, Land, Gemstone, Ragavan, City of Traders, Forbidden Orchard, Dark Ritual.
Oh boy. So all lands. So that's the wrong half.
Fuck.
So
man.
the Ragavan is okay. So this is a trap hand in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
But Surveil lands make it better because you have a really, really high density of like tutors and payouts in this deck.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 30% roughly. So you
Mhm.
can leverage your Surveil land to go and find something. Ragavan is hit and miss, obviously. So it's just a question of, do the odds favor you?
Yeah.
And
Pod composition.
right.
Obviously.
But like I said, it's a bit of a trap. Usually when it's all mana, I would just go to 5 here.
Yeah. This 5 is Sacred Foundry, SWAT, Razakath, Ad Nauseam, Demonic Tutor, Ragavan, and Gemstone.
Oh, snap keep. 100%.
All day. I just don't know what to pitch.
Uh,
Uh,
it depends on the table. You're definitely gonna keep
Adnons.
the Ragavan. You're gonna keep Ragavan in the lands. Nos can be a keep. So like it would be like Demonic Tutor goes and finds Culling the Weak or whatever
Mhm.
off Ragavan.
So SWAT
At least with the band.
Razakat.
You can do you can do Razaketh lines. So you could throw back Razaketh
Mhm.
if you're doing that. You could also throw back Ad Nauseam if you don't think that you're gonna have a chance to storm off. Like you could just go into it. So if you throw back Ad Nauseam, you could throw back
Mhm.
Nos, throw back Demonic Tutor, and now you have just a very solid like Kaalia into Razaketh plan. You
Yeah.
could go with the storm line. Throw back Razaketh,
I see
throw
what you're
back.
saying now. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like a perfect hand for it. I wish it was a seven. I feel like it's like the nut seven. Because you do have a gemstone.
yeah,
You got
that
to
was
pitch something else. So you're actually going to four or three.
yeah.
So I got you. All right, let's do one more. We are going to. We're last. We got a Lotho, Polluted Delta, Necro, Red Blast, Burn Offering, Faithless Looting, and Hoarding Broodlord.
No tutors.
Ooh,
Okay.
we got
So
Broodlord
Faithless
though.
Looting is an entomb. Yeah, so Faithless Looting is an entomb here. Um,
You got.
because you're gonna draw to pitch the Broodlord. You could try this and then try to spike a tutor or an animate dead effect off the top.
Yeah.
And some games that's actually legit. You have to take a look at the table. So like Lotho
Mm-hmm.
could be very powerful
Mm-hmm.
as like a mana engine and fueling things.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, all your games here will start with that Faithless. Um, you need to do if you're playing as mid-range decks, this is probably a keep. If you're playing against stacks decks, it's probably a keep. Against
Mm-hmm.
multiple storm decks like triple Rogsire or whatever, this is a trap. But this is a pod dependent hand.
Well, and going last kind of hurts, right? But other than that, okay. So we drew for
Yeah.
turn. We drew a Grim Monolith. I just fetched for Badlands.
Yep.
So Faith is looting. Draw two. We drew Defense Grid and Dark Ritual.
Cool. Okay. Okay, so you're loaded up. You just need
Now,
like some way.
yeah, we're cooking.
Yeah.
So we got get rid of Broodlord and like Lotho or Red Blast. Burn Offering, maybe.
Any of those. You just do the table read at that point.
Okay. Yeah, because now your hands going into your second turn: Lotho, Necro, Grim Monolith, Defense Grid, Dark Rit, Burn Offering.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. This deck's fucking sick. All right, I'm
Yeah,
sleeving this shit up.
you have to really get dialed into like, okay, what are my opponents doing? How do I play around it? How do I beat it? You have to. It's a weird deck, but you kind of have to be forming plans as soon as you sit down at the table
Yeah.
before you even see your hands.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I'm getting ready for the boil, right? So I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
right now I want to sleeve this deck up. I don't know if I'm confident enough in 4 or 5 weeks. I play enough spell table games to be as good as I can be to go to the tournament with this deck. But I do want to sleeve this deck up, and then like if I like play with the buddies and hang out, we're just playing like whatever, and then I can slowly learn this deck. I feel like you're not going to be good with this deck overnight, right? You
No.
probably agree.
Uh-uh.
So I feel like I'd probably focus more on Rogsai. I'm working on a Zer. I'm working on a couple lists, but I feel like after the boil, I could probably like seriously start taking this because I just don't want to just casually take this sometimes to spell table games. You know what I mean? I feel like I want to like this is all I play for 10 straight games. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
for me. So I don't know about right now, but after the boil, I think I'm gonna pick this deck up and fucking work on it. I have most of the cards anyways. Like I don't know if you can see, but I have a pile of cards since the ban. I think we all do,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I got a blood crypt
That's,
foil fucking land just staring at me.
oh my god. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I feel like we could talk about this deck for a fucking week, dude. I feel like we didn't get to half my stuff of my notes. We're on 25 lands, and how good is the turbo strategy? So last thing I gotta hint. So going forward, we already said this before, but going forward into this no dockside, no mana crypt, no jewel lotus, like is the deck okay, and what does the deck look like in the future?
The deck is surprisingly okay. And what
Good.
Kaalia basically makes mana. That's what she does. Um, and that's really powerful right now into this current meta.
Mm-hmm.
Shockingly, I look, and I'm saying this. I have my pit of despair, and then I picked it up again, and I was like, oh man, I am winning. So
Yeah. No, I wrote you. Honestly, I wrote you. Hey, man, we still doing this podcast. I still want to do it, but is Kaalia dead? And if she is, that's fine. We could figure something else out to talk about. And you're like, hey, man, it's not dead. Let's fucking talk about it. And I'm like, fucking sweet, because I didn't know. I had.
I was when yeah.
Good.
No, when the bans dropped, I was like thinking, oh shoot, okay, do I need to message Steelers and be like, hey, hey Josh, this thing's dead? And then I gave it like 20 games and was like, this rocks. Okay, we're in.
Yeah, I'm real with you. I had 9, 10 decks, and I had a guy Ruda, I had a 10 Majeska, I had an Atali, I had all these decks, and I'm like, Corvold. Nah, 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 nah. You know what I mean? Like, Tevish
Yep.
Crom. I didn't touch that deck for a week, and then I was like, all right, let's make Tevish Crom an Aroxai. Like, it hurts my feelings. It's not viable. Tevish is not viable right now. And then I feel like Crom got hurt a lot, right? So you just have to take your risks. But no, I agree with you. I think Kaalia is good to go. But people, if you take anything from this, play test it. Play it, play it, play
Yes.
it, play it, play it. Don't do what I did. Play 3 games, get blown out because I'm an idiot. Right? Look at yourself. Was it me or was it the deck? After the game's done, look through the deck. Oh, I could have tutored for this, or I should have interacted there. Right? What he said through half this podcast, I was skeptical. I was like, hey man, you're not in blue, you're not this, you're not that. And he was like, well, you could do spells, you could do Kali, you could do this, you could do this. And he convinced me. So I was wrong. So everyone sleep up fucking Kaalia. That's about time for our podcast. You have anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I call you Discord. You guys are amazing. I can send some links for that. They are awesome.
Please.
I want to shout out the Japanese meta. They are amazing. They've been amazing sources of support all these years. Zasioku, other tournament Kaalia player. It's this 20-year-old Japanese girl out of nowhere, just demolished Haruya. I think Okinawa. I'm not sure. Anyways, she's slaying it. I got my boys in the SoCal meta, always there steamrolling. Their stuff's incredible. Friends all around the world, in all the different places I play, and yeah, League of Shadows.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, send me an invite to that. I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna post this in there. We're gonna play some fucking Kaalia. But that's all we got for today, guys. That's the Doom of Fools podcast. That's Bad Dog. Y'all have a good day. See ya.